up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the breakdown video for the Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara secondary featherweight title showdown that's taking place Saturday, September 24th, as it'll main event a DAZN card from the United Kingdom. So this is a very big featherweight matchup right here. And if you're not paying attention to the featherweight division, you're missing out, because it really is a lot better than it was just a year ago. And this fight is huge for a couple reasons. First, it's not just because it's for a secondary title. I know most people are like, well, it's not really a title fight. Here's what's going to come from this matchup. The winner of this fight is guaranteed the winner of Leo Santa Cruz and Ray Vargas. And Leo Santa Cruz and Ray Vargas are going to unify the WBC and WBA titles. The winner of this fight essentially is #1 contender to 2 belts. So, you know, you get a direct shot at 2 of the belts if you win this fight. And it just got announced not long ago. I just did the DAZN video about it last week. And now I'm already doing the breakdown video because we're only about a little over 2 weeks away from this fight. But it's a very big deal, this fight right here, because it's really gonna, the winner, whoever comes out of the 4-way, it's basically a 4-man tournament. Wood and Lara, the winner meets the winner of Vargas and Santa Cruz. And the winner of that makes a strong case, and in my opinion is the #1 featherweight in the world. You know, so, because they'll hold 2 of the 4 belts. So this is a very, very big fight right here. And I'm really surprised that Leigh Wood took this fight with Mauricio Lara, but it shows his desire to prove that he's the best by fighting anybody. So, as I normally do with the breakdown videos, we'll start with either the favorite or the underdog, unless it's a title fight where we'll do the champion and then the challenger. So, then we'll, you know, talk about what they've done coming into the fight, each fighter, and what they got to do to win, some other questions, and then it's the same questions for each fighter, and then is it better for boxing if one or the other wins, and is it, you know, who do I think is going to win the fight? We'll close out the video. So we start with the reigning WBA regular featherweight champion, Leigh Wood. Leigh Wood enters this fight really on a roll. His last 3 fights date back to about a year and a half ago, so he's been very active, which is good. Back in February of last year, 2021, he beat an undefeated guy named Reese Mold by a decision. Then he went on to stop Shu Kan of China in an upset in, I believe it was August of last year, and he captured the WBA regular title with that upset win. He was actually ahead on all the cards, and he stopped Shu Kan in the 12th round. Even though he was ahead, he still went in there and got the knockout. And then in his last fight against undefeated Michael Conlon, he was losing the fight on all the 3 cards. He was getting outboxed completely, but he continued to keep coming forward. He finally wore down Conlon, and in the 11th, he started hitting him, and then in the 12th, he cracked him and knocked him out cold. You know, through the ropes, a brutal knockout win, and, you know, shows that he is a 12th round fighter. He comes to fight, and anything can happen. So heading into this one, he's going in against a very tough, 10 years his junior opponent. I was very surprised to see that Mauricio Lara, only 24 years old, is 10 years younger than Leigh Wood at 34 years old. They both stand about 5'7". So Leigh Wood is really going to have to bank on that, you know, fire that he has right now, that hunger, in order to pull this one out. It's going to be a tough defense, but I think he is very confident in wanting to fight the best, and or else he wouldn't have chosen Mauricio Lara. So, that being said, what kind of fight, what does Leigh Wood need to do to defeat Mauricio Lara? Well, the couple advantages that he has. Yes, he he has a 10-year disadvantage on Lara, but he's got a big advantage in terms of rounds. He's fought more 12-round fights, you know, or even late round fights, and especially in this past year and a half he has. He's fought a lot more rounds. I think he's fought a total of almost 36 rounds, where Lara's only fought, I believe, a total of about 13 rounds in the 3 fights that he's had. So, you know, he's got that advantage, and I think he needs to really try to box a little more and not completely slug it out with Mauricio Lara. I think if he boxes more and kind of mixes it up, you know, become a true boxer puncher in this fight, but boxes more than Lara's going to box to try to steal some rounds. If the fight's competitive going into the championship rounds, I think he's going to have a good chance of not only beating Lara, but possibly stopping him, because Lara hasn't really been to the deep rounds and the deep waters in a competitive fight that we've seen. So I think Lee Wood, that's the way he has an advantage in this fight. They both stand 5'7", and you know, so he doesn't have a huge size advantage here. He's going to have to go with the kind of style he chooses to fight. He does not need to go toe-to-toe, and that's his chance of victory, because obviously he's proven that whether he's ahead or behind, he can fight into the 12th round no matter what. He's proven that in his last 2. So that's what he needs to do heading into this fight with Mauricio Lara. Now, can Lee Wood win this fight by knockout? I don't think he has the power to one-punch knockout Mauricio Lara. I don't think he has that kind of power, but I do believe that if he can break down Mauricio Lara, he might be able to stop him in the late round. So I think that is possible. Can Lee Wood win a decision over Mauricio Lara? I think he can. I think it's probably going to be close. It's going to be tough. I definitely don't think he's going to like completely dominate Lara, but I do feel he could win a close decision. What does a win mean for Lee Wood in this fight against Mauricio Lara? And it means everything. It will not be the big, I don't know if you're going to call it the biggest win, because Michael Conley, his name recognition might be a little bit bigger. But it's definitely going to lead him to the biggest fight of his career, which would be a unification title fight showdown. So it's definitely huge if he wins this fight. It's very, very big for his career. It keeps him rolling, and it puts him in a title fight, for the unified title next, probably early next year. So definitely a huge thing for him if he wins. What does it mean for Lee Wood if he loses? Depends on how he loses. If he loses a close competitive fight, I don't think many people will be disappointed, and he can probably jump back right back into the mix, and still stay a legitimate contender. But if he goes out there and gets dominated and stopped by Mauricio Lara, he's going to drop way down and really have to start from scratch. And that's going to be tough at 34, 35 years old for him. So, it really depends on how he loses, because I definitely think a lot of people are viewing this as a 50-50 fight or giving Lara the edge. So that's what that comes down to. So now let's look at the challenger, Mauricio Lara. Lara, rolling into this fight, is also hungry and on fire. His last 3 fights date back also about a year and a half to February of 2021, when he scored the biggest victory of his career, when he brutally knocked out Josh Warrington after completely dominating him and beating him up for nine rounds. Warrington was arguably the #1 featherweight in the world at the time, and he went in there a big favorite over Lara, and Lara absolutely beat the shit out of him. It was during COVID, yes, there wasn't fans that day, but Lara looked good and dominated Josh Warrington, really turned the featherweight division over. And then they rematched in September of last year, and that fight only got 2 rounds in as a bad cut over Lara's eye was opened up, and the fight never really got underway. But I personally feel that Lara was getting the better of the exchanges in those first 2 rounds, and the same thing would have happened. But Warrington escaped with the no contest and or a technical draw, whatever they called it. And Lara, you know, he didn't lose either, but Warrington escaped and went on to win a world title. Where Lara, he went on to fight a guy named Emilio Sanchez in February and knocked him out in 3 rounds of a competitive fight. But Mauricio Lara is 24 years old. He's hungry and he wants it. After that, since he did not get a chance to legitimize that victory over Warrington, and Warrington moved on to become a world champion instead of fighting him a 3rd time, I think that really burns Lara. And I think the fact that Lara got this chance at Lee Wood, he is very hungry to take advantage of it. He's also 10 years younger and, you know, looking to bring the youth moving in. But he's a very powerful puncher and he's very hungry coming in. So what kind of style does Lara need to have to win this fight? Well, I don't think he needs to overexert himself. He needs to know that Lee Wood has boxed well into the late rounds. Lara needs to really come in well conditioned. And yeah, his style is to be aggressive. He's got that classic Mexican style. But he needs to do it with body punching. Body punching, body punching. He needs to break down Lee Wood's body. That way, if the fight goes into the late rounds, Lee Wood is just as tired, and he's not surprising the shit out of Lara with a 12th round stoppage like he's done in his last 2 fights. Lara needs to be prepared for 12 and really dig to the body and be the bully in this fight and try to make sure that Lee Wood has to fight him in exchanges, you know, has to go toe-to-toe. Try to make it his kind of fight. If he can do that, Mauricio Lara is in a very good position to win this fight. Now, do I believe that Lara can knock out Lee Wood? I absolutely do. I think it can happen early. I think it can happen later. I think Mauricio Lara is just a strong fighter. He's hungry, and I think he's coming in to just beat down Lee Wood is what his goal is, much the way he did Josh Warrington. So, absolutely, I think he can knock Lee Wood out. Can Mauricio Lara win a decision over Lee Wood? I think he can. I think just his sheer aggressiveness and volume punching, he's going to be able to win rounds that way, you know, and it's very possible to win rounds, and I think he can win a decision. I could see him winning a one-sided decision. I could see him winning a close decision. I do believe he can win a decision here. What does a win mean for Mauricio Lara? Well, it guarantees him a unified title shot. I mean, that's really what it does. If he goes out there and beats Lee Wood, yeah, he becomes a secondary champ. He can technically call himself a world champion, but it guarantees him a crack at half of the division, you know, which 2 of the 4 belts he will get a chance at if he defeats Lee Wood in this fight. And I just think that's huge for a 24-year-old fighter. So a win here is big. I don't think a win over Lee Wood tops the win over Josh Warrington, but it puts him in position to get into a fight that would top the win over Warrington. So definitely a big opportunity here for Mauricio Lara. Now, what does a loss mean for Mauricio Lara in this fight? A loss would be bad, you know, because he's riding away from that dominating performance against Josh Warrington, and a loss, some people might start looking at him as a one-hit wonder if he loses this fight, unless it's a close one. If he loses a close fight, I don't think people will look at him that way, but if he goes out there and gets dominated, people didn't want to fight him before Lee Wood, really, you know? So now that Lee Wood's given him the opportunity, if he loses, I think he really drops down, and it would be bad for Mauricio Lara. A loss would definitely hurt him right here. So, is it better for boxing if Lee Wood or Mauricio Lara win this fight? And I'll be honest, I think it's better for boxing if Mauricio Lara wins this fight. Now, Lee Wood is a good fighter. He's a good, tough guy. But I don't think anybody thinks this guy is going to be a superstar on a level. I think he's going to be a competitive featherweight. He's a good, solid veteran of the sport at his age and how many fights he's had. But again, I don't think people look at him as a star or somebody that is going to surprise us. Mauricio Lara has the power and the style to really surprise, be the next big star, and he's only 24 years old. It's better for boxing if a younger star of this level comes up and does, and wins this fight. So it's better for boxing if Lara wins. It's not bad for boxing if Wood wins. It's just better for boxing if Lara wins. And now finally, my prediction on the Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara secondary title fight. I'm going to be honest, even though it's in the United Kingdom, even though Lee Wood has done great in 12th round performances, I think Mauricio Lara is hungry. I think he's mean. I think he's coming. And I just don't think Lee Wood packs the punch and the capability of keeping Lara off of him. I think Lara is going to bully Lee Wood in that fight. I do feel it's going to be competitive for a while, but eventually Lara's style is going to wear out Lee Wood, and I think Wood is going down in the middle to later rounds, and we're going to see Mauricio Lara become the WBA regular champion and punch his ticket for a unified title fight and an all-Mexican showdown against the winner of Ray Vargas and Leo Santa Cruz as they unify titles, hopefully before the end of the year. So really, really want to watch this fight Saturday, September 24th in the main event of a DAZN card from the United Kingdom. So it's going to take place earlier in the day. Lee Wood, the WBA regular featherweight champion, versus Mauricio Lara. Again, I'm picking Lara to win this fight by knockout. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.